So I've been dwelling on a thought lately that for some reason I just can't seem to get past, and usually in these situations as a creator, that is a sign to create some content. Here's where my head's at, Zelda crew. What if Breath of the Wild 2 introduced a survival mode for the very first time in the Zelda series? For the most part, we all theorize that Breath of the Wild sequel is set to release in early 2023, right? I think that's most likely the unanimous call at this time. With everything new that the sequel could introduce us to, I think that it would be an amazing time as well to introduce a survival mode. Since its release on the Wii U, Switch 5 years ago, Breath of the Wild has held immense popularity still to this day, and the community is still praising the difficulty of its shrine puzzles. I do want to point out here that I wasn't exactly a huge fan of the shrines because I am more along the lines of putting all of those shrine puzzles into like massive dungeons, like the typical Zelda style, but that is neither here nor there. Now, all that being said, I think one of the biggest replay values Breath of the Wild had was the inclusion of a master mode in the Master Trials DLC, which has led you and I to seeking a more challenging open world experience, at least for the seasoned Zelda fans. Breath of the Wild's master mode made a ton of changes to the original game. For one, every enemy you face is one rank higher, which literally makes the Great Plateau the hardest part of the game, and if you've played Master Mode, you know exactly what I mean. What made Master Mode even harder is that all enemies, regardless of what rank they were, automatically regenerated their health when you try to formulate a strategy, which pretty much means that there was little to no time to think and plan for a combat strategy because, well, the enemy's health would just refill. Since enemies are so much stronger on Master Mode, I just remember so many times dying early with a single hit from a blue Bokoblin. It was truly horrible, and I honestly try to forget that. Breath of the Wild's Master Mode also adds new enemies into the game, which makes it that much more difficult for you to sneak your way past encounters. The result of this is, of course, Breath of the Wild's Master Mode forcing you to adopt a new game strategy from what you did in previous playthroughs, focusing on stealth, crafting, and execution. A Breath of the Wild 2 survival mode could put into practice similar difficulty settings in regards to enemies, but personally, I would like to see them push it even further by adding various environmental constraints for the most dedicated of us Zelda fans. Some elements, such as temperature, already require extreme focus and planning. In Breath of the Wild, Link will take damage in extreme hot or cold environments, which is a mechanic that I absolutely loved seeing because it just makes the adventure seem so real, Zelda crew. Breath of the Wild has you eat food to regain your health and receive certain boosts, so a survival mode could feature weird Breath of the Wild cooking combinations and eating as a necessary countermeasure against, let's say, starvation or something like that. Likewise, resting at a campfire or bed in Breath of the Wild may be helpful when you wish to pass some time, right? But in a newly added survival mode in Breath of the Wild 2, Link could require reoccurring rest. I hope that makes sense. Another potential idea here is to introduce certain restrictions on Link himself. You know, like making sure that you're actually subscribed to the channel for one. Thank you. I appreciate you. But in Breath of the Wild specifically, Link can expand his inventory by trading Korok seeds with Hetsu. That is if you took the time to find a decent amount of them. Anyway, this allows you to haul dozens of weapons, bows, and shields, which can be switched out for some better equipment at any point during combat. A survival mode could reduce Link's inventory, forcing you to carefully choose which weapons and armor you take to each area. Another example of making Link's life harder is that normally Link can carry several fairies, which regenerate 5 hearts upon death, but these two could be reduced to 1 per inventory or just completely removed entirely. I think I would prefer, honestly, just them to be removed entirely. I think it would make things way more difficult, Zelda crew. I do think fast traveling across the shrines on Breath of the Wild's map could be another thing that potentially makes things harder and more tedious for sure. Can you imagine having to run from Death Mountain all the way to Gerudo Desert? Yeah. That'd be pretty difficult. There's a ton of other games such as Fallout 4 and Skyrim Anniversary Edition that both include optional survival modes that, alongside having you require food and rest, disable fast travel. Given how vast Hyrule is in Breath of the Wild specifically, Link would have to travel long distances by horseback. Yes, in this survival mode, I will give you a horse. If fast travel were to be taken away. Now here's an insane idea that just popped into my head, Zelda crew. What about a survival mode without a map of Hyrule entirely? I remember trying to traverse Hyrule without getting a couple Sheikah Towers activated, and man, it was a doozy. They could steal something from Elden Ring as well, in which it forces you to uncover each part of Hyrule without knowing its distance or actual size, and would leave you literally no choice but to prepare for the worst with whatever materials you have on hand. There's just so many things that Nintendo could do here to make Breath of the Wild 2 even harder than Master Mode was on the original Breath of the Wild, and I really do think that fans of the Legend of Zelda franchise can hope that Nintendo will include a survival mode without zero hesitation. Hey, if you are a Zelda fan and you found value in this video, then be sure to watch this video next. Please like, subscribe, and follow me over on Twitter. Much peace and love, be the light, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Until next time.